What's up, everybody? It's your boy Ryan, and this is the Thunder Channel on Nootropics. Thanks so much for watching. Gonna do some questions answered on an email that came through, and I think it's very relevant to you folks, so stay tuned. For now, every shred of information we put on this channel is brought to you by a couple products. You guys know that. Now we have specials on the Cortex stack. We have got one for $24, so a bottle of Cortex, $24, pretty cheap for those of you that buy Cortex and love it. If you buy 2 or 3 or 4 bottles, you get incentives and the price goes down. So 2 is $48, 3 is $70, and then 4 bottles of Cortex is $90. You can find all that at livecortex.com. If you've been thinking about trying Cortex or buying Cortex, or for somebody that needs to stock up, just go and do it today. Like, you're going to hesitate yourself out of not doing it, so just go do it. If you're somebody who's already stocked up, probably you should take advantage of this if you got the extra cash around now, because we'll be taking the price back up to $33 after the new year. Do that at livecortex.com. If you need my help on formulating stacks or anything regarding nootropics, we have 3 tiers of consulting. One is a 40-minute call with me, 15 follow-up email correspondences. The next is a 3.5-month package, unlimited emails, unlimited calls, unlimited nootropics consulting, and we formulate stacks for you and mail them to you. So you do not have to buy nootropics. We will do all of the work very professionally. Get that at livecortex.com. The next package is a 6-month package, which is the same thing. 6 months, unlimited calls, unlimited emails, unlimited nootropics consulting. Very, very comprehensive stuff. We actually get into your diet, your sleep, optimizing brain performance in general, and then optimizing with nootropics. We formulate stacks, mail them to you there as well. That is a 6-month package. You can get that at livecortex.com. Last 2 things. If you're new to nootropics or relatively new, you got to buy Smarter, Better, Faster, and you've got to read it a couple times. Now it's an audiobook, so it makes it so much easier. Go to livecortex.com, find the Smarter, Better, Faster interactive audiobook, and get it. livecortex.com. Last thing, if you're a guy and need to raise testosterone, speaking of which, we'll talk about this in just a sec. This is not a beer. Looks like a beer, though. Looks like a Guinness. Get the Viking Testosterone Protocol, livecortex.com. Can't tell you how many guys' lives we're changing, and I know that sounds a little markety, but it's true. Viking Testosterone Protocol. If you want to raise testosterone, do it at livecortex.com. So yeah, this is Cystanche, one of the major chemicals that upregulates steroidogenesis, testicular enzymes that are producing testosterone. That is part of the protocol, but it's one part of the protocol. There's 9 very, very specific things you have to do to raise tests sustainably in a way that's actually pretty quick. But we've talked about the way you take Cystanche is in a heaping tablespoon each serving in either water, or in this case, this is liquid IV, which is essentially a salt satchel, salt and a little bit of glucose satchel. It's actually pure cane sugar, and that's the best way to take this down. I don't really taste the Cystanche. Cystanche, if you guys know, I've been fussing with it. It's actually kind of herby and earthy. It's not great. Anyway, I've got some questions I want to answer from an email that came through from a guy named Hernan. Hernan, thank you so much for sending me the email. Hernan did what I need you guys to do. When you email me questions that you want me to answer on the web and I do not respond or do not answer them, you have to pull out your trump card and email me 100 times. Just keep emailing me, and then I'm going to keep seeing it, and then I'll be like, I got to do this video on answering these questions. He starts with asking, Bacopa, that Bacopa could stack very well with blueberries. I was like, phytochemicals and a good surge of fructose, which would be glucose in the brain, eating blueberries. So you probably get a good acute brain performance effect, mostly from the fructose. But there are some other chemicals that are, if you eat blueberries consistently, then yeah, you are to a degree working on the prevention of neurodegeneration, which I think is very useful. I'm not sure that you would get an acute nootropic benefit from it, though. Probably that is mostly just the glucose in its form. Perhaps some of the phytochemicals or the other chemicals in blueberries that allow the brain to function well. But the major question is, does Bacopa stack well with Uridine and Gotu Kola and a choline source? So primarily he's asking about Gotu Kola. Yes, Uridine and a choline source is a fantastic synergy of compounds that, with B vitamins and DHA, upregulates neurogenesis. Probably on their own, Uridine and a choline source do that, to foster the spawning of new neurons. But it also gives you massive brain fluidity, lots of motivation, because there's hardcore work on dopamine functionality, particularly in receptor density increases with uridine and CDP-choline to a degree, optimizing acetylcholine to a degree with that combination as well. With Bacopa, uridine, CDP-choline, CDP in this particular case do stack well together. Bacopa is largely working on dendrite and axon growth, those branches between neurons that allow signals to sell. That's a thing that happens kind of over time, so you maintenance dose it 4 or 5 times a week and 500 to 1,000 milligrams, and you'll get that. You should get that background thing happening in the brain. Gotu Kola, and then he goes plus blueberries. Okay, yes, blueberries are awesome to take either way. It's hard to say whether or not you're getting an acute nootropic benefit, but they're great. But Gotu Kola is not strictly neurologically active. Gotu Kola enhances collagen synthesis, so it's like very good for wound healing. I mean, that's its primary mechanism. When it comes to the brain, it does, as far as I remember, foster the release of a couple neurotransmitters. One of them is 5-HT, which is antidepressant. So it's fostering the functionality of serotonin. So that is a good thing for people that might have depression or anxiety or whatever. It's, I think, slightly modulating the release of dopamine and norepinephrine as well. Okay, so stacking that with uridine and Bacopa and a choline source, you would probably get good results. Anytime you take the uridine and choline and Bacopa functionality and you add something to it, it changes the uridine, choline, Bacopa effect. So it may not be favorable and it may be favorable. It's actually something I have never tried. So my opinion on that stack is give it a shot. I don't see a huge problem with it. I think you'll probably get good results, especially if you dose modestly on the Gotu Kola to start and then work your way up after that. Guy has some other questions. In your experience, this is important, and that we'll answer this question and then be done with it because there's a lot of questions in this email. In your experience, do you have a list of the minimum amount of each nootropic required to feel an effect when you're microdosing? Then he goes to make the point that we essentially suggest 120 to 175 milligrams of aniracetam spread out over 5 to 6 hours, taken every hour and 20 or 30 minutes to reach 525 or 575 or 600 or so milligrams of aniracetam, although the recommended dose is 750. So what that question assumes, so the question is, how do you know there's a minimum amount of a particular compound to reach an effect, especially when microdosing? The question assumes that the recommended dose is going to be best for everyone, and that is not true. It is not true. There's plenty of places over the web that's, the recommended dose on alpha GPC is 500 milligrams. That'll put some people in a catatonic sleep state because it's just way too much acetylcholine for the brain to handle, and then everything sort of starts to shut down. The side effects of too much acetylcholine: brain fog, focus problems, memory problems. Side effects of too low acetylcholine, same thing, right? It's in the sweet spot where you're finding a thing, and not everyone's sweet spot is 500. Same thing with aniracetam. Plenty of people take that dose of 750. It either overstimulates them, or the most common thing I see is that the compound itself is inconsistent over the course of 6 or 7 days when they take it, cycling off a day or two in between. For 3 days on, 1 day off, and then like 2 days on thereafter. Aniracetam is inconsistent because they're taking it in too high doses for their brain. Even though it might be registering an okay result for the first 3 days, it's going to be inconsistent. And that's because it's just too much of that compound, which is why you microdose. It's why you should cycle more in that particular case, first of all. But secondly, you can prevent a lot of that by microdosing because your dose is just not 750 milligrams. It's not the ideal dose. The recommended doses are not. People look at that very linearly. They're like, well, this is what the establishment told me is the recommended dose, therefore it has to be. And that is just not true. It's just not true. Minimum amount. I mean, a lot of people do respond to 120 to 170 milligrams of aniracetam in one shot, especially if they're doing it sublingually, but even in an oral capsule. And what we always enforce, the power of microdosing is you're taking your optimized baseline and you're just bumping yourself a little bit above that baseline in terms of, in this case, stimulation and working memory and motivation to do work and multitasking ability, which is what aniracetam does, but not to the extent of a full dose. The full dose would exit your system quicker. This is why racetams have a 2 to 3 hour effect duration for most folks, and sometimes even a little less than that. But if you're constantly infusing low doses which you respond to, and you get some degree of good brain performance benefit when you already have an optimized baseline, then you're able to extend the effect duration window of aniracetam to 5 or 6 hours with microdosing, and that's why that's significant. So there's no minimum amount of microdosing quantity, like 100 milligrams or 150 milligrams of aniracetam, that just like quantifiably, verifiably is going to produce results. For some people, they can take 70 milligrams once an hour for 6 hours, and that'll be perfect. For some, it'll be 120 milligrams in a sort of similar fashion. For some, it'll be 175. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Last question was, is this extrapolatable to pramiracetam, phenylpiracetam, colaracetam? The answer is yes. Now, I've microdosed all of that stuff, but not in enough quantity where I have enough anecdotals with myself and with other people to comfortably give you an answer that I think will be applicable to a lot of you. And that's how I like to try to do things. So, however, if you were to do that, microdose any of those 3 compounds, colaracetam, phenylpiracetam, pramiracetam, you should do it in similar ratios that we're working with aniracetam. Doesn't mean you take 175 milligrams of pramiracetam every hour and a half for 5 hours, because the dose, the recommended dose or the high tolerable dose is like 400 milligrams. So you'd be dosing less. I don't know what the ratio is exactly, but probably something like 50 milligrams of pramiracetam over the course like 6 hours to reach 400 or 500 or whatever that ends up being. Same thing with phenylpiracetam. You'd probably be dosing like, you'd probably dose like 30 to 35 milligrams every hour and 20 minutes of phenylpiracetam until you reach 200 or 250. And yes, that'll absolutely be helpful. With colaracetam, yeah, I mean, the dose is low on that, so you'd probably be shooting for like between 3 and 5 milligrams every 2 hours, because that's powerful and speeds up the efficiency of choline synthesis in the brain, okay? So it is extrapolatable. You just have to do it with the right ratios and be careful and be smart. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Remember, do everything that Hernan did here, which was email me incessantly until I answered the question on a video. Thanks so much, Hernan, for the question. I'm happy to be able to help you in answering. Anybody else that has a question, ryan@livecortex.com is my email. Send it, and repeatedly send it if I don't get to it. If you guys need specials on product, aside from the Cortex product right now, the Cortex stack, which is 1 for 24, 2 for 48, 3 for 74 for 90 at livecortex.com. Text us 610-924-7041. Text us. You'll either get me directly, I see everything that comes through text, or our clerk Miranda, who will then get you to me or work a deal with you herself to get you a deal on product. As an example, if some of you are wanting to do like any of the executive packages, the 6-month package is $4,800 or $5,000 right now. If you text Miranda or text that number and it gets to Miranda or me, if that's what you're wanting to do, I'll answer you. Sure, we can take some money off. We can take it down. Whatever you feel comfortable with in your budget, within reason, we can take it down. The same is true with the Viking testosterone protocol. If you want a deal on that, text us. Look, if you're going to purchase product and give us business, we'll do whatever we can within reason to help you get a discount. I mean, that's the bottom line. And you can always count on us being there for you to help you save money all the time. So text us 610-924-7041 if you want product. Some of these other things, discounts on product. Otherwise, go to livecortex.com. Get the Cortex stack. It is powerful, cheap right now for 12 days of Christmas. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Talk to you next time.
My name is Ryan Michael Ballo. For 6 years, my sole mission has been to improve the performance of my brain. This is why I created Cortex. My mission was to build a nootropic stack that gave me extreme focus, powerful motivation, and a heightened cognitive state. And after years of experimentation and a comprehensive beta testing protocol, and putting together the most powerful nootropic compounds on the planet, I found what I was looking for.